Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of How to Speak Maintenance. My name is Jason Fein. I'm the VP of Maintenance at Dominium, and I'm happy to be here to talk to you about our topics today. I first want to thank TAAEF for hosting us and putting this podcast on for the past year and a half now, Becca. I think it's almost been 2 years, right? So, the organization and what you do for the industry in Texas is impressive, and proud to be a part of it. So thank you for putting this on and helping us keep it going. So.
Thank you.
Yeah. With us today, we have two very special guests, people that I know and are very dear to my heart. We've got Andrea Wynn, who's a regional manager at Camden, and then Jesús Zepeda as well. So Jesús and Andrea, why don't you talk to everybody and tell them what you do for Camden?
Want to go ahead, Andrea?
Oh, sure. I was gonna let you go. So I'm a district manager at Camden here in Houston, and so I oversee 7 communities in the Houston area, and I really just spend time with my teams and supporting them. I've worked with Camden for about 11 years now. Started in California, went to DC, and am now here in Houston.
And you were a community manager before. Well,
I was. I started as a leasing consultant. I was an assistant manager, and then I was a community manager at multiple properties prior to becoming a district manager.
So you've definitely learned how to speak maintenance and spend a lot of time with our maintenance teams on site, correct?
I have. I try to do some maintenance. I don't know how much they love it when I do that, but I always like to get involved and see what I can do. And then I take that back home and try it there.
That's awesome. Jesús Zepeda, regional maintenance manager with Camden. How are you doing today?
Very good. Yes, Jesús Zepeda. Been with Camden for many years, 15 to be exact. And I'm a regional maintenance director, and I help support the Texas market, Houston, Dallas, and Austin. With the market maintenance managers in those cities, and we support the maintenance guys. We build PM budgets, special projects. Also, we partner with the facilities teams to help support any capital projects that they may have. So yeah, that's what my team does for Camden.
Two of you guys, I know that you both work very closely together, so I know that you're going to be able to help bring a lot of knowledge and expertise to our place. That being said, we'll just jump right into it. So.
And before we jump in, Jason, I just want to say that Jason is traveling and is tried to find the most quiet spot, and that's hard in an airport. So I'm going to mute him probably more than he would like, but just so the audience knows, that's why there's some background noise.
I got my finger positioned over that mute button, so I feel like I might mute myself more than you will. So. All right, so it's October, we're going into November, which is crazy to think, but that means that we're in full swing of budget season. So I really wanted to talk to you guys about how you build maintenance budgets. I mean, what sort of tools or communication you guys have during this process? So with that being said, I think the first question is, where does your budgeting system and processes start? How do you guys, how much time does it take to build a proper budget?
I was thinking about this earlier, and I would probably say that I don't really know if there is technically your budget season starts, and it's October-ish, early October into September, and that's when everything kicks off. You get your worksheets and you start the process, and then it ends typically around mid-January. But I don't really think it ever stops or starts. I think you're always working on your budget. I think you're always thinking about what can you do next year or what can you budget for. You have your one-off things that always happen throughout the year as well too. And so there are times when you have to move things and you have to shift things to the next year because something large and unforeseen happened. And so knowing that that needs to be pushed to next year and making a note. I know that we use OneNote a lot and a lot of my teams do as well. And so just keeping track of that, so it makes the budget season easier, because you've kind of, prepared your list all year long, thinking about, 20, I even know we finished CapEx budgets and we're like, okay, great. Yep, that's going to be next year. You're already thinking about 2026 and we just finished 2025. So I think that that's really big, is just always making sure that you're thinking about your budget. You're thinking about some things that you can do on your community. You reach out to your vendors and you make sure that their pricing isn't changing, or what are they going to be doing next year, so you can budget for that. And then just taking that, making sure that you're working with your maintenance supervisor and your maintenance team, because that you can kind of figure out what's going on and what you want to do, but what are the real needs of the property that are going to keep it running and preserve your asset.
That's great. I like how you said that it's all year. It's not just months that you're sitting there. So, Jesús, as an RMD, how much involvement do you have in the budgeting process, and when does that start for you?
100% agree with Andrea. It's a all year long process, and it's like planning, keeping yourself organized, getting to know the communities really, really well, so you can plan accordingly. For the next year. To me, budget is one of the most crucial projects that you may have in your community, to make sure that the year that comes, you have a successful year, right? And everything runs super smooth. Hopefully, we always have, it's never perfect, but as close as you can get to it, the smoother the process will be throughout the year, to run your community. So you don't want those surprises that all of a sudden happens, like you have a 10-year inspection, right? And you didn't plan for it or budget for it. And that's when it's like the problem starts with communities. And where are we going to get this money? So getting to know all what's coming and be proactive about it, that's what is the success part of it, I think.
Yeah, some things have a timeline on it, right? There's a 5-year valve inspection. There's a 10-year inspection, on heads, so sprinkler heads. So it's interesting. If you don't properly plan, you're not going to be prepared for it. You're not going to have money. So it's a good point. So, Andrea, earlier you said something about having the maintenance team involved in the budgeting process. How much involvement do they really have, and are they sitting at the table with you during budget talks, or is there a certain thing that you do at Camden to make sure they're involved?
Yeah, I think that every manager may be a little bit different, but I think that it is huge to have them involved, especially the RM component of the budget. You really can't do it without them. They're doing it, they're in and out. That is their life. That is what they live, and they know what needs to be done. And I think throughout the year, you have to make sure that you're reviewing your budget with your GM and maintenance supervisor, CM, maintenance supervisor should be reviewing the budgets monthly, just to make sure that they know what projects are coming up, what you have for PMs, and that those are being scheduled and invoiced in the quarter that they should be. And, I know we all get out our crystal ball and we're like, yes, this is what's going to happen next year. But you want to try to be able to anticipate what is going to happen. And when you're walking, or your maintenance supervisor is walking, or your maintenance team is walking, they should, see something, say something. It can be, in this situation as well too, if they see something, or if there's something that we could do to make it better, or if we can anticipate that this might be a problem in the future, definitely say something. And making sure, I know one thing that I always love to do in the afternoon was walk with my maintenance supervisors. And so I think that that's really important, that you're walking together. You guys know what's going on. You probably already have a plan before you're really getting the budget together. So I think that that's also a huge component. I love walking the community and, again, taking photos in OneNote. I feel like I'm advertising OneNote here, but taking photos, and the team knows what's going on and they see what I see. And so I think that that's really important as well. And then I think too, looking through insurance claims and looking through your work orders that you have had throughout the year with your maintenance supervisor to see what you could potentially do next year or budget for to decrease those claims and to save money into maybe where the maintenance team does not have as many work orders for those issues. So I think that is also really important to do. And another thing is the maintenance team can spend time with the vendors and watch and observe. I think there's a lot of things that our teams are amazing, and they can watch and see what our vendors are doing, and I can guarantee you there's many things that they have done and can take in-house to do themselves to save money in the budget.
Yeah, that's a good point. Jesús, what are your thoughts on the maintenance team being involved in building the budget?
Oh, they're critical. They're super important because they're the ones that are living, breathing in that community. They see the struggles, so they can tell you where the weaknesses are in the community, right? They're there 24/7. Sometimes some people live on site and some guys are like on call, and they can see all the things that are happening in those communities. So talking to the team, like Andrea mentioned, is really important. I always talk to my team about, hey, take the time to talk to not just the supervisor, everybody, techs, housekeepers, anybody that works on the maintenance side. They can tell you probably something interesting about the community that you can improve or plan for in your budget next year. There's always in every community something that they're struggling with, and if you plan it, whether it's like how you take your AC units to the roofs, right? How can you improve that and the safety of them for the guys not to get injured and the process to be easier for them? That's just one of the examples, but there's so many. Talking to your teams are super important. The other part that I wanted to talk to you, Jason, about budgets. On the PM side, to me, we normally do it intentional as well, seasonal, right? If we're going to have hurricane season, we normally put that money prior to hurricane to check our elevators, the generators, load bank test, floodgates, all those things that can potentially happen. We do it proactively prior to hurricane season. And then in other parts of the country, before the snow time comes, they do all their projects over there with the machines and stuff like that. So we build it just not to put the numbers in the budget, but also what months you're going to allocate that money for the different seasons of, that you may need.
Yeah, I like that. Got to make sure that they're involved so that they can teach you the seasonality stuff. So, industry issues. So, for example, the HVAC Freon changes coming up in the next year or two. So, if you just continue to budget the same HVAC budgets that you do every single year and maybe put a 3% increase on it, all of a sudden we don't budget for the new A2L Freon change. All of a sudden you might be left behind the dust and you don't have enough money to be able to buy what you need. So, it's important. So it's really good to make time to get your maintenance team involved in the budget. Jesús, you brought up PM budgets. You know that sometimes we get to the end of the budget season and things, maybe we're asking for too much money. And we need to tone down a little bit. How do we preserve our PM budgets and make sure that we're not cutting the gutter cleaning, dryer cleaning, things that are really vital to the property? Andrew, you want to answer that first? You're probably the one who makes the cuts, right?
Honestly, I think we lean into Jesús and his team for sure to make those. And we do it together. It's definitely a partnership. I think, it makes me laugh because I think one thing that we talked about recently was, they're coming, cuts are coming. And so you just get ready for it. So I would say anything important, plan Q1, 2, or 3 that you really want to get done. But I think that's true. You have to work with your MMM and R&D team because they are the ones for us that make that budget. So they know what's coming. They know what can we push off that maybe isn't for an inspection. because there are certain things that we have to do that we cannot cut. And so I think that's so important to work really closely with them, and then to lead them and let them make that budget, so then they can help you with the cuts when it comes to that.
Yeah. And then normally too, we normally number projects by priorities, right? So probably number 4s are going to be the ones that we're going to probably cut first, which is like cleanings, carpet cleanings or things like that. But anything that have to be with inspections or mandatory, we must comply. Those are like we have to do, so they're not going to be counted. So the partnering with our DMs is critical to make sure that they know as well what's coming for the community and what we're planning to do, and we probably can find savings in other areas as well, so we preserve the PM, because that's what keeps the communities going. PM is something that you don't want to save money on, for sure.
Yeah.
That's my take on that.
Yeah, I was just thinking that, because I was even, you may have to, because PMs are really important, and it is something we have to keep up with our equipment, because if we don't keep up with our equipment, it's going to cost us more later. But the teams, and that's where it comes to working with the teams, is there might be something in our other GL codes that we have to remove, and because we have to do the PMs. And so I think it's not just leaving it in that PM area of your budget and where are we cutting from there, but where can we cut in the nice to haves, and so we can make sure that we're keeping up with our equipment.
It's interesting to hear you guys talk about the budget more so as a planning tool rather than the financial aspects of it, that it helps you get ready for the year more than I think people think about. You hear budget boot camp, and it's this finite time of really just focusing on these numbers rather than what's going to make your community and your company successful. So it's really cool to hear, look back at past insurance claims, at work orders, and help use those things, not just to plan your budget, but how you're going to work in the next year. And that might be a mind shift for some in looking at what budgets can mean and what they can do for your company.
I really like the idea of not putting the entire budget solely on the responsibility of the community manager. You're giving a community manager someone that's maybe versed in leasing, income, expenses, don't know about HVAC regulations or how to when to clean a cooling tower. So relying on some of your business partners as well, so taking your own, taking away from someone who's emotionally invested in the community, saying, what should we do? What should we be spending? Make sure that we're getting it. Ages, and we can make sure our maintenance is getting destroyed by service requests. I wanted to talk about this just help just seeing those kind of speak names. If you have a community manager like Andrea, like yourself, you speak maintenance, you know it. You told us before that you like to learn and dig in and learn the details. So you can go home, maybe work stuff on your house too. So how does this help in building a budget to be able to speak maintenance?
I think it's really important. We talk a lot about that partnership, and it is a true partnership. That was, I always felt like when I was on site, that was my best friend. That was my work husband. We were always together, and we were in it together. And we ran maintenance team, we ran the office team. We were all just one. And I think it's really important to know your property in and out. Have your meetings with your maintenance supervisor, walk the community, spend the day doing maintenance. I've done make readies with teams, and Jesús and I just updated gauges yesterday together. So I think it never stops. It is really important to know. It's a part of your team. It's a part of your community. They're out, resident facing, and you should make sure you spend time with them and understand it. take maintenance classes. It's one of the things that some of my general managers this year, as we have some of our maintenance classes, they were just in one yesterday with drip drums, and just learning that and seeing it. They need to go to those, because that continues that partnership, and then it becomes more of a collaboration when it comes to the budgets, rather than okay, what do you want? What do I want? It's okay, this is what we need for our team. So very important.
Yes.
Trust me, we're trying to recruit Andrea to the maintenance side, because we're always partnering, and like, I think you should just move to this department, Andrea. You're amazing. So
That would be amazing.
When she said drip drums, I knew she was in it. She's a maintenance person.
oh yeah.
Jason, we have a question about, from a supplier or partner, perhaps, how important is it for a supplier to understand the needs and challenges of the multifamily industry, and what should they do to better understand, I think, is the question.
That's a great question. Jesus, do you have any thoughts on that?
Sorry, I wasn't going to hear. What was it again, Becca? Sorry.
How important is it for a supplier partner, whether it be, window coverings or pool equipment, to understand the multifamily industry and the specific challenges of the multifamily industry?
Yeah, and I was going to touch on that a little while ago when Andrea talks about vendors. Having a good relationship with vendors, a good pool of vendors that understand the necessities for multifamily industry is critical. And having not just one, like a couple of each specialty that you have in your city for better pricing, better service and stuff is crucial as well. But having that relationship with them as well in partnership, it's super important, because in case of a big event, you have vendors that can have your back and can take care of your communities and your properties fast, So, and that's what you want to build, that good relationship with them, and having that is super important. That's something that our team is often going to different trades, like HAA, TAA, and stuff like that, and finding a good pool of vendors and making sure that what's new, what's coming up, right? Super important as well, because there's always changing things and stuff, or new techniques, new products and stuff that you can take benefit. So yeah, it's very important, the vendor side on your budgets as well.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that having a relationship with vendors that you trust, because that is really important, because our maintenance team doesn't have a lot of time. And so to know and understand what and how we do things, and then bringing what you have to us that would help in those situations, is better than just saying, here's what all we have and what would work for you. They're just really busy. And I mean, even when you're sitting in the office, you might see them in the morning and see them in the afternoon for lunch, and then see them when they leave. They're never there. They're nonstop. They don't stop. And so to have an understanding of that, and to be able to bring them things that are helpful is really important.
And just to add on to that, and a couple of plugs for TAA related things, is that, TAA has a new learning management system for members. And so there is a specific track for supplier partners. So a great place to go and learn how to be a good supplier partner. And we use supplier partner on purpose, because it really is a partnership, and that trust piece is so important. And also be on the lookout for a new onboarding guide, but for someone who's new to being a supplier partner, because there are things that are unique to multifamily. And I think this is the crux of the question too, is like, don't go visit the office on the first day of the month. Don't go visit on the last day of the month. And those aren't going to translate in other industries and other businesses. So it is really important to understand multifamily.
I wanted to add to it. I used to love it when my partner would come and spend time with me on the property and say, hey, I noticed you're spending a lot more money on these parts, these plumbing parts. Maybe you need to look at doing parts. They would help us try to figure out if there's another part that could potentially be behind that can, help solve the issue. Having a vendor come on site, maybe it's a vendor that helps with cleaning, helps with fixing the snowblower machines. Imagine you're coming out of the summer season, tickets and turns, and all of a sudden you're like, oh, I got to start working on my snowblower. Imagine all of a sudden if I have a partner that says, hey, Jason, I know that snowblower season's coming up. I know you're probably got a lot of tickets and turns in the community. If you get your machines in soon, I can be able to maintain them for you, get them ready for the season. Now, instead of it just being a vendor that's waiting for me to call. So I agree. It's important that vendor relationship. So, good questions. Yeah, that was like the first time we actually had a listener to chime in with a question. So, the only other thing I wanted to ask is how do you execute and manage the maintenance portion of the budget throughout the year, and who manages the larger PM projects? I know that there's a lot going on, so who's focused on that?
For the PM side, Jason, my team is normally managing those projects, helping the communities, letting them know what's coming, right? And we normally do that in advance. We normally don't do it like the month off. We always are, again, being proactive, being ahead of the game, letting them know, hey, next month you're going to have X project, right? Whether it's fire inspections, anything that is coming up for the community, so they get prepared. And that's what my team does on the PM side, monitoring that, make sure that everything that is scheduled in that month gets done and gets paid as well, right? Super important that we don't roll over those expenses to the next quarter. So it's a lot of moving parts. So we try to support the teams with that because, like Andrea mentioned, the maintenance guys, I've been there in the community. That's where I started. And I know we get super busy, and having that extra support that can oversee you and reminds you of what's coming up is amazing. So that's what we try to do for our teams here. And PM side, I manage, and there is a lot of another team facilities that they manage, the capital ones, and Andrea and her team. You want to speak about that one?
Yeah. I think it's a team effort when when you look at you have your GM and your CMs and your maintenance supervisors, and then we work really closely with Jesús and his team. And then we have operations analysts that are off site that help to make sure things are paid for. So it takes communication, for sure. And then Jesús and his team are always on site, and even our facilities where, we were even doing CapEx. And I remember years back, I would have 3 ring binders and photos and 3 bids and showing all the things that I wanted. And now, they're on site so much, they already know what we're going to put in our CapEx budget. And so I think things have changed a little bit in that way, but I think communication has just really improved, and we work well together, and we make sure that we're keeping everyone in the loop about what's going on and what we have coming and what we think we want for next year. So it is a team effort for sure.
Great. That sounds like constant communication, utilizing tools to track what you want to spend and when you want to spend it, identifying, you guys, Camden calls it a quarterback, right? Somebody to be able to manage the project and make sure that it's moving in the right direction, and making sure that we're not compromising on the project that really do have an impact on the community, and make sure that we don't have leaks and floods is important. So really appreciate your time, and hope people that are listening and maybe don't have as in-depth, intricate budgeting processes gain something from this conversation. So before we leave, though, I really wanted to kind of ask both of you what you find most interesting part of your job. Maybe we can start with Jesús.
I'm gonna go ahead and start. The most interesting part that you find. What do you have, Jason?
Yeah, what do you find most interesting about your job? What engages you, gets you excited when you're at work and you're like, oh, I get to do this today?
The projects, like exactly what I'm doing today, being executing on big projects, helping the teams and their communities, and at the end be successful at it, and leave the community thinking that it's in a better spot after I finish. That's what it keeps it interesting and exciting and rewarding to me.
So there's so many things that I love. But then when you said just what gets you excited, I would probably have to say making things better for our teams. Just looking and figuring out what is going on, where are they struggling, we talk a lot about the maintenance teams and how they suffer in silence specifically. And it's just talking to them, spending time with them and figuring out what are the pain points. And then I just want to figure out how to make it better. And so working on anything like that makes things better for our teams is probably one of my favorite things to do.
That's awesome. It's not sitting in teams meetings or filling out reports. It's engaging with people, and it's being there and making moves to be able to make it so they can do their job and they feel comfortable. That's great.
Yes.
Well, I appreciate both of you guys jumping on. Becca, thanks for keeping us going and keeping the podcast alive. If anybody listening is interested in listening to the previous conversation or wherever you can be able to download a podcast on, and we're also on Instagram and LinkedIn, and Facebook Live as well. So thank you everybody for your time. Thank you, Becca. And I look forward to speaking with you guys in the future.
Thanks, Jason. And if you are 5 years or less in the multifamily industry, whether you're on-site or corporate or maintenance team or a supplier partner, we have our Be the Next Room to Grow ambassador contest going on. Right now, we'll be getting an ambassador from each of those groups. And we would love to hear from you, hear your story about why you love being in this industry and your job. You can find more information and you can submit to the contest at TAAEF and I'll put it .org and I'll put it in the comments. And the contest runs through Friday. So go ahead and make your videos now. And we can't wait to meet our next ambassadors. And Andrea and Jesús, Jason, thank you so much for listening. We'll see you guys in November. Bye-bye.
Thank you.